like that. But yeah, it was cool, but they got absolutely shit on. I think that team could like compete with college teams.
Yeah?
Nah.
Sounds
Why does Andre look so ugly compared to what I thought he would look like?
Damn, that's crazy.
So smooth. So much smooth. I'll just flame it.
That's crazy. It's one of the wildest things I've ever heard.
Straight up disrespectful.
Straight savage.
That's nuts.
So what's been going on in the lives?
Oh,
Same
bro,
shit,
let me tell you
or
guys. So I was at the fair yesterday. Went to the Georgia State Fair. I was telling Tyson, and we got home super late, like 10:30. And I get home and the dogs and the cat, right? Because I have animals. They were locked up for a couple hours. So we get home and they're going nuts, right? Dogs going crazy, all that crap. And it's 10:30 at night. So I come down. I'm in my office hanging out, whatever. And then my oldest comes down. Damien comes down. He's like, "Hey, Dad, the cat's got poop stuck to its butt." And I'm like, "Oh my God, dude, what? What do you mean? Like it has poop stuck to its butt? Like, clean it." So he's like, "I can't." So he's holding the cat, right? And he's got 2 squares of toilet paper. Like, 1, 2, right? So I'm like, all right. So I grab the cat, right, and I turn it around. I got the cat's fucking ass right here, and I'm like, lift its tail. And he lifts his tail, and I swear to fucking God, dude, there was shit from the top of its tail to the bottom of its foot. Like, I'm talking, like 2 squares was not going to clean anything. So I'm like, God damn it. So I take him into the bathroom, right, and I grab this, one of the washcloths we have, I wet it, and I start cleaning his tail. And I'm working my way down, and the first thing that came to mind was Tyson. And I was like, bro, I haven't done this shit for so long. Like, Tyson's got a baby, right? Now he's got to clean from fucking the top of her neck to the bottom of her ass. Because trust me, I got 3 kids, man. I know how that is. Like, they shit, and it goes all the way up here, brother. And so I'm cleaning this fucking cat's ass, right, from top to bottom. I'm thinking, like, man, I fucking thought I was done with this shit 9 years ago, right? And then I get to the fucking cat's ass, right, its asshole, and I'm like, what the fuck? Chunks of shit were still stuck to its ass, dude. So I'm peeling chunks of shit. And Tyson knows my cat. It was Nico, right? He's hairy. So it's not like just on the hair. It's like fucking hair, like strings of spaghetti shit, like coming off, dude. And then I take the cat upstairs, like, all right, get the fuck out of here. And my son's like, oh, he made a mess upstairs. So I'm like, well, clean it. He's like, Dad, I need some help. So I go upstairs, the litter box, right? You got the litter box. And the cat literally jumped out of the litter box. You know when a dog like fucking scoots its ass on the ground, you know what I mean? Like doing a little fuck scoot. The fucking cat literally had a trail of like, it jumped out. There's a fucking big brown spot like this big where the shit hit the ground and then drug it. And then another big brown spot and it was just like fucking connected dots out the fucking into the hallway in circles. I was like, you gotta be fucking shit me, man. We were playing connected dots with the damn fucking cat shit, man. Oh, it was horrible. And then to top that off, I get done cleaning cat shit and playing connected dots with cat poop upstairs. And then like 30 minutes later, because we went to the fair and my youngest eats all his fucking junk food and everything, I go upstairs and he's throwing up, right? Okay, cool. Hey, you're good, buddy. I go upstairs. And then he's like, Dad, I can't stop throwing up, but I got to go to the bathroom. So I was like, all right, dude, like, we'll figure it out. Just sit down. Don't poop yourself, right? So he sits down and just unloads. And then he has to grab the trash can and put it in front of him. So he's fucking every orifice of his body, something was coming out, dude. He had snot. He had fucking vomit. He had poop. He had tears. Dude, it was everything. That was my night last night, by the way. It was great.
Hell yeah.
That sounds that's eventful as fuck, dog.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta say, I'm honored that when you're wiping someone else's ass or something else's ass that isn't yours, I'm the person you think of.
Dude, it was just the way I was holding the cat. Like legit, I got the cat, right? And it's like in my arm, and his ass is up here. And then, you know, cats don't like to be held other than like a baby, right? So he's scratching the shit out of my side, and I'm trying to hold him. I got the wet rag here, and then my son, Damien's holding the fucking cat's tail up. Dude, it was fucking priceless. Nice. It was just, you know, the wiping action and the holding and the poop. And I was just like, this is what it's like to have a baby.
Yes, sir, it is.
I thought of you.
Shit everywhere. I got a little, see that right there? That's a little puke on my shirt.
I thought you were going to say poop.
No, puke. We're good on poop. She's starting to take those, she's starting to take more solid poops because she eats like one normal meal a day.
Yeah.
And that is the worst transition of all time when they go from like the water-based to it smells. It's like
smell.
a grown human's shit, and it smells so bad. It's horrible.
It's horrendous.
All right, that's a good cold open. Welcome back to the T&A podcast with your hosts Tyson and Andre, and we have a special guest today, Gunnery Sergeant. Did I say that right? Gunnery Sergeant?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Adam Rivera, our good friend, my good friend, barely knows Andre. Called him ugly a little bit ago. How you guys doing?
Andre, good.
Andre,
good, man.
is barely alive.
Barely.
The reason we didn't record this earlier is because he slept all day.
Surviving. I went out last night for homie's birthday and got pretty hammered. Yeah.
That's about all you remember, huh?
Just about. I remember being out. We had some drinks. And
as you should, yeah.
Then we were just chilling, but I drank a lot. And then I think what really fucked me up were these Jello shots because they were strong as fuck.
Hell yeah!
Some little $2 Jello shots that someone had, and they were, goddamn, those really fucked me up. And I was mixing like vodka and whiskey and just every tequila. The fuck?
Oh, that just sounds horrible.
It was awful.
Once you start mixing them, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, I almost got die.
Almost got that. You guys seen that comedian that does that skit about different alcohols coming in the stomach?
Oh.
I can't think of the comedian's name. He looks like he's on LSD, drunk and high, all at the same time.
It's got to be Dalia.
Is he Arabic?
No, he's not Arabic. He's just a white dude, but I can't think of his name.
It's got to be Chris D'Elia.
It might
it's
be.
Probably
He
Chris
looks like he's
D'Elia.
on high as shit.
Yeah. But he talks about, like, literally what you were saying. He talks about, like, he starts drinking. But, like, for every alcohol, he has, like, a different voice, right? So tequila's the Mexican that they never let in. And then they drinking O'Doul's or, I don't know, some Scottish shit. And he's making that was going through my mind when you were talking about all the alcohol you were drinking.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Honestly, the most interesting guest we could ever get on this show would be Andre's liver.
Hell yeah. If only he could talk, dude, he'd probably tell you I fuck him up.
He died a long time ago.
Long time ago.
He's no longer with us. One moment of silence.
Rip.
So I'm coming off a 4-day weekend. I just left Andre hanging at work.
Fuck yeah, you did.
Oh, how rude.
Yeah, I went to go watch my niece. They made it to state volleyball for the first time in 30 years. So we went to Lincoln and watched that. And the team they played, they were the number 8 seed. They only lost one game all year. They were the number 8 seed. And the team they played was number 1. It's a Lutheran school, a private school, and I don't know if you know much about it, and it might be different in other states. But since it's a private school, they can do scholarships. It's like a college. So they can recruit. Yeah, they can recruit kids, and they can also control their student body. And so this year, I think they won it this year. I should have looked it up, but I have no doubt in my mind that they won it. They beat last year's champions the other team never scored more than 15.
Wow.
In the second round, but this will be their 4th year in a row winning state in a different class. So they were actually in the class above us last year, and they went down a class because they can control their student body. They have 2 juniors on that team who are signed to D1 colleges already.
That is
We're committed to
insane.
D1 colleges, and it was like watching college volleyball. They were insanely good. It was stupid. Like, every time our girls were, they went on a long volley, and they, hit it to the perfect spot on the floor, right on the line. Their best player dives out. Pancakes, they put their hand on the floor. So it was kind of like that, but she would get enough under it where she'd flick her wrist up, and it would pop it up really high, and then she would army crawl. There was one, I remember, it was so cool to watch it. She dives, pops it up, gets on the ground, and rolls over, and her teammate jumps over her and sets it, and then they spike it down and score it.
Oh my
Humiliating to play against.
Imagine.
It's nuts.
God.
It's just messed up that they can move up and down.
Yeah. That's crazy. That they
all
can
the
be
four of the top 8 were like Catholic schools or whatever. So all the public schools, like all of their signs that their student body and stuff brought were "We love public schools" signs, and just throwing all the shade.
Hell yeah,
all of the schools that were not private schools were the first ones out.
Of course.
But
And that's
cool.
the crabby
It's
part,
bigger,
right?
yeah.
Recruiting and stuff. I think that's probably the coolest part, right? Especially for like a small school, right? Bayard, first time making state.
First time in 30 years.
Well, yeah, in such a long time, yeah. So I mean, just that experience for the students, and even not just the ones playing, but like the school itself. Because I know the school closed, right? I went online and I seen that the school was closed so that people could go support, the state volleyball team, which is super awesome.
Yeah, so all the students and stuff could go, students and families, and a lot of them actually stayed and watched the Husker game Saturday. And the school actually let the girls, the team, stay. They stayed to watch the whole thing, even though they lost in the first round. They got to watch the whole tournament play out.
That's awesome.
So,
to get the full experience.
But the main thing that I thought was really interesting, and it's kind of on theme with having you on, is when we were driving up there, we're on the interstate, and I was sitting in the front seat. My dad was driving, and he goes, "Look out, Tyson! There's a cannon aiming at you." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I look up, and there's artillery. And Andre, when he was in the Marines, he was artillery. He did artillery stuff. And so we're passing him. I'm like, "Damn, that's sick." There was 2 cannons on the back of this trailer. And I was looking at it, and when we play video games, Andre goes by the name 0v0 Carnage. And on the barrel of the artillery was the word Carnage. And I'm like, "Oh, that's weird." So I texted Andre, and I'm like, "Hey, man, we just passed two artillery cannons, and on the barrel it said Carnage." And I'm like, "Is that how you got your name?" And he's like, "Yes, sir." So he kind of explained to me. He sent me a picture. He's like, "Did it look like this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it looked just like that, except it was painted different." But he said that he was in the Carnage battery.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of questions, but I didn't want to ask them all because I figured I'd ask them here. So how big is a battery? Like how?
So a battery is, it's almost the same as like an infantry unit. So like instead of being called a company, we're just called a battery. We're a firing battery. Usually can be, so you have your cannoneers, usually have 6 guns, 8 to 10 people per cannon. So you got about 60 to 70 dudes on the gun line, and then all your fire support guys, FDC guys, your weathermen, probably like 120. I think we deployed with like 125 or something like that. So that's what makes up a battery. You're kind of like the tip of the spear. Cannoneers are like the tip of the spear in the artillery community.
Okay.
Kind of think of the Marine Corps as like a pyramid, or like a pyramid, right?
Pyramid scheme. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So everyone's job in the Marine Corps is to support. Is to support infantry, right? They're at the very tip top. Everybody's job is to support them. In the artillery community, we're at that tip. So everyone's MOS that follows us, their job is to support us so we can support artillery or support infantry. But yeah, batteries made up like 125 guys. Bunch of different MOSs you work with. You got your forward observers, you got cannoneers, FDC, fire direction controlmen, surveyors. They survey areas for us. There's a bunch of different MOSs, cooks.
That's like
everything,
specific to that job too, right? So you have all of those, and then you have like your first sergeants, the guys that are managing personnel.
Yeah.
So it gets kind of broken down. So when a lot of times when like I want to jump in here. So the battery, right? He says it's like a company. It's very, very similar, just a different name because they want to be cool because they get to shoot big guns, right? Pulse big
we are
boom.
cool.
Yeah.
because we are cool. But no, it's pretty cool in that aspect where, you know, we'll say guys like yourself, Tyson, right, where you're not really too in tune with, you know, how the military's broken down. You're average person, but you see what you see on TV. So all you see is the guys shooting guns, throwing grenades, right, shooting the big cannons, and you think, oh, that's cool. But all the behind the scenes that has to happen to make those guys do what they're able to do is where, you know, the majority of that tree is. Like he said, the tip of that tree or the tip of that spear is those guys shooting and on the front lines. And then everything underneath that is all of the support that goes into allowing them to do what they do.
Yeah, so like I think we had, you know, not so much when I was deployed, but like in garrison, like just being back home, we'd have like a couple cooks come out to the field with us. So like some days we would get like ARATs where just like basically big ass MREs. They just cook big MREs for us. And you got supply guys, you got our armory guys. They would come out to the field with us because all those guys get attached to us to do their job to help, you know, support us. Yeah, I can talk about artillery all day.
Let me just jump in before we move on from that. And I just want to say the worst thing about supporting guys like that, like, well, you know, not Andre specifically, he's a great guy, but guys like him, right, and the infantry guys, is they are the good boys. Like, they're part of the good boys club, right? They're the badasses, right, where they shoot the guns and they pull the strings and make things blow up. And then when you get guys attached to you, like, you don't belong to them. You're like that stepchild they don't want but they need, you know? And it is sometimes the worst thing that you could do is join and be attached to them because you're like the bastard stepchild. They just treat you like dirt because they're like, you're just here to do what we tell you to do. Like, and you want to be out there and doing, like, you know, being attached and watching them shoot guns and blow stuff up. But sometimes they don't want you there, man. They're just like, nah, we're here to do a job. You do yours, we'll do ours. You're not part of the good boys club. And that's it.
Yeah, and our battery was a little different, though, because, like, our armorers, like, when we'd have our armorers come out to the field with us or anything, like, they would have to get involved. Not that we needed them to, but, like,
oh, there it is,
if we're...
Right there.
Well,
see? You see what I'm saying?
Literally just...
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, we didn't need them, no, but, like, you know, if you're a fucking cook or whatever, right? We're not just going to let you sit at the fucking truck all day. Like, come fucking sling some rounds, come fucking chuck some rounds, be a powder monkey, do something, like, be useful, contribute, you know, because when you're out there for running 24-hour ops for 2, 3, 4 days on end, you're running on 2 hours of sleep a night, like, that shit gets tough.
Four cans of dip.
Yeah, 4 cans of fucking
16
dip
monsters.
Yeah, dude, it gets rough. So, like,
Wasn't it Rippets? It's like the big military energy drink.
On deployment, yeah.
Yeah,
Rippets
in
for
country
days.
Rippets were the thing, but it's Bang. Bang was the big one. I remember when we were in the field, everybody was drinking Bangs.
Yeah, I think.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I need energy drinks.
what is... I can't get over the fact that I saw that. How many cannons do you think were in your battery, like, in the carnage?
And so, we had six howitzers, and then it takes minimum 6 guys to run one gun, including a chief, so 7 technically.
Okay.
But yeah, so you have 6 guns per battery usually. When I first got to my unit, like half my unit was deployed. So we were running like 4 guns with like minimal, like some guns had like 4 or 5 dudes on them. And it was rough there for a little bit. And then slowly our battery started building back up. Guys were coming back from deployment, coming from other batteries to our battery. Because the Marine Corps works on like a rotation. So like if it's not your battery's turn or you're not working, you're always working up for a deployment when you're training. But like when you're slotted to be deployed, that's when like you get attached to a different unit. It goes into like a whole workup. So like we got attached to 2-1 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines. They're an infantry unit. That was the unit that we were supporting. So we got attached to them. And then that's when you really start getting like a bunch of support guys, you know, armors, cooks, everything that we just talked about. You really start getting those guys pouring in, getting them involved in training and things like that. You start doing training with your parent company or your sister company, whoever the fuck they are. In my case, 2-1. We were doing a lot of things with them. And then in artillery...
So how many guns did you guys take with you? And that, so when you guys attached to 2-1, you guys took, what, 6 guns, right?
Yeah, so we took 6 howitzers, and then in artillery, you get split up. I don't think the Marine Corps splits batteries anymore because they got rid of the 120 millimeter mortars. So when on my deployment, we got split up. So the section chiefs, they do like a draft, whatever. Like everybody got trained on the mortar systems, but they did like a draft. So like every chief got to pick who they wanted, what Marines they wanted. And I got put in the mortar platoon. I was on a mortar section. We didn't really do much. We didn't take the guns we didn't take the mortars off the ship. We didn't even take artillery off the ship at all. We did some sustainment training and stuff, did some cool things. It's a different experience because you're like still a whole unit, but you're like split up. So like our mortar platoon, we were mostly like security, like almost a provisional infantry unit type deal. We did a bunch of cool training and stuff like that before our deployment, so it was pretty neat.
So to come full circle on your question, so 6 in your battery, right?
Yeah,
but then
6.
How many batteries did you have within?
Just
I
one.
mean, with you guys, just the one battery, right?
We
we'll
just
say
have
6
one,
guns plus
6 mortars. So you have 6
mortars,
howitzers,
okay.
6 mortars, and yeah.
So, what's the over-under that you shot those cannons that I saw? Or you were on one of the teams? Because if there was only 6 per that battery, is that something that you could own outside of the military? Because it was being pulled by a truck that was it wasn't like a Humvee or anything. It was just a white Dodge 3500. So I was wondering if it was like an aftermarket one of someone who was in that battery.
No, you can't. So yeah, you can't
So it
just
had
go
to be
out
one
and
of
buy.
those.
Yeah, you can't just buy a
Government
howitzer.
Dude, that's
government vehicle pulling that thing.
Do you not think that's insane though that I saw them then?
I think it is insane because, well, I don't know, because I've seen like pictures, because I follow like all these military groups on Facebook and stuff like that. I've seen pictures of like howitzers just being left on the side of the road, or like howitzers just sitting on like trailers and
He's just driving down the road and sees it. He's like, "Hey, Bobby, go get your truck. We got ourselves a big gun.
I'm gonna kill all the deers."
That's nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah, artillery is cool, man. I can talk about it all day.
I couldn't tell.
It's my life. It was my life.
That's good though. It means you're excited about it.
Yeah.
So both of you have traveled the world. Andre, I think a little bit more, because once Adam, I think you kind of climbed the ranks and you were more always on base, a little more of an administrative role.
Yeah.
But since you guys have both kind of been around the world, I want to know about, because I'm fat, I want to know about the best food, best country's food. Andre and I have talked about it a lot, but I've never heard your input, Adam. What was the best?
Oh,
what was the
man.
single best sit-down meal in what country? What did you have? You know, like what was the best meal you ever had on deployment?
Man, that's going to be...
Or not necessarily on deployment, I guess. Just,
just outside the country.
it could have been Miramar.
Man,
You
no,
could have had it. No, I doubt it.
There was
but-
definitely not the best food I've had there. No. No, honestly, I think it was probably when we went to the Philippines, and it was like when we first got there. So, being in communications, we get there typically 2 or 3 weeks before, the main body. Everybody shows up. because we got to get everything up and running. We got to get communications up. We got to get their networks running. Make sure they have satellite communications, their internet, all that good stuff. So when they show up, they can hit the ground running. And because we show up so early, there's nothing there. So in the Philippines specifically, when we got there, we were in a dry riverbed and out in the middle of freaking nowhere. This place called BCK, and when we show up, the locals like to set up their own little shops just outside of wherever we have our perimeter, our base, and they like to sell food and everything they can to us to make money. But that typically doesn't happen until the main body gets there. So the first week or so that we were there, it was almost like scavenging for food that wasn't MREs. And so we had this little lady that would show up in a little bicycle with a cart on the back, and she made what are they called, lumpias, right? She had lumpias, like homemade lumpias with some rice noodle stuff, and this drink that had like strips of coconut in it, and it was a local fruit. It almost looks like a lime. I can't remember what it's called. I was just talking to my wife about this the other day, about that drink. But so the best meal was that drink, like a lemon hybrid drink with some coconut strips in it, with some homemade lumpias and some probably dog meat rice. But it was the most delicious dog meat lumpia rice that I've had ever. Like, it was...
Damn.
And she would show up every day, bro, every day. So for the first 3 days. And then the big boss of the area found out that she was there making money without his permission, and she got kicked out. And when I say big boss, I mean like the Filipino guy that runs the area, the warden of the people.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Andre's gonna get on here and talk about these crazy like French cuisines and stuff, and Adam's like, yeah, in the Philippines I ate Oompa Loompas and dog meat.
Dude, it was delicious though, man. Like, I mean, I've had some like super
good.
nice cuisine, but like the most memorable and like most flavorful was that.
Hit different.
Oh
Dude,
yeah, both going in out.
We went to this place in Hong Kong. It was like this big ass like building, and there was like this restaurant at the top of it. And we're just in civvies or whatever, and we get into this restaurant, and we look around. Everyone's like all dressed up, like professional, have suits on. Women have dresses on and stuff. And we're like, yeah, we just want to eat. And they're like, oh, okay. So they like take us to like this back room, pull out our chairs. Dude, I was like, they pulled out our chairs, put napkins in our lap, pushed us in. We're like, what the fuck is this? The royal treatment? They give us this menu. We had like this 5-course meal for like $30, dude. It was so nice, and the food was so fucking good. It was amazing. So I think the salad was a Caesar salad, and they made the dressing right there at the table. And then you got a choice of some sort of lamb burger, I think it was, or turkey burger. And then there was like another side dish, and then a dessert. I don't remember exactly everything, but I remember that Caesar salad, dude, was phenomenal. Like the best Caesar salad I ever had in my life. It was so good.
Now the question is, what's your best? Yeah, exactly. What's your best meal?
It's not my best meal, but I do want to tell you about a meal I had over the weekend. I went to Texas Roadhouse for the first time. Never been.
Oh yeah, you enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. But with 6 hours of travel, that kind of has some effects on your body. Right? So
Yeah.
I hadn't shit in 2 days, and then we go to Texas Roadhouse, and I had a $60 meal. I got steak, I got everything. So we get back to the hotel, and I'm staying in the hotel room with my sister and my parents, and just struggling, dude. My sister is pregnant, and I'm farting just uncontrollably, and I feel so bad. But she's a massage therapist. She's like, I can help you poop, and I'm like, what do you mean you can help me poop? She's like, lay on your back,
bend over, spread your cheeks.
no, it's like, lay on your back. She's like, you can massage the intestines, and you can actually feel like the poop in your intestines, like where it's clogged up. And she's like poking on my stomach. My parents are just laying in the other bed, just watching TV, don't care at all. And she's kind of feeling it. She's like, I can feel it right there. And so like I'm messing with it, and like, I didn't really feel it at that moment, and like the running joke was that I couldn't poop. I went into the bathroom and tried and came back out, and I looked at my parents and I said, I just experienced something magical. And they're like, did you finally shit so you can shut up about it? I'm like, no, I think that I felt a hemorrhoid grow in real time.
From pushing so hard.
I compared it to the likes of growing a child. I said, I think I know what women experience now. So I lay back down, and I'm feeling in my stomach, and I was like kind of like feeling around, and I felt something. I'm like, what the hell is that? I'm like, Nikki, I think I found it. And so she feels around, and she's like, you did. And now, dude, feeling poop in your stomach is a life-changing experience.
I would imagine so, yeah.
And I looked over at my parents and asked if they were proud of me, and they said no.
This is a grown man we're talking about, too.
Right? Poor man just had his whole feelings hurt. Right there in that moment, he realized his parents were never going to be proud of him.
That's funny.
So what'd you do after you grabbed it?
I tried to move it along down to my colon. I tried to walk it down to my butthole.
Did Nikki not help you?
No.
That's crazy.
No,
she
not
should
from
have.
that point on.
Andre, you know what I thought of just now when he was like, oh, and she was helping, I was farting and it was, stinking up the room. The first thing that came to mind, obviously, because we were talking military stuff, was I was going to go, gas, 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 gas. So that's what you do, right? When there's gas, and so people close their eyes, shut their mouth, and grab your gas mask. That's the signal, right? You tap yourself on the shoulder. You look like a fucking dying monkey.
I'll remember that. I'm going to do that next time around my wife.
Before you launch one, just do that.
Yeah. And then she's like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh.
It's the universal sign.
Universal sign of, fuck, it's coming.
That's funny. Yeah, that was my cuisine. I would say the best meal I ever had was probably in Florida. We went to a fine dining seafood restaurant, seafood and pasta, and I got like just everything: scallops, mussels, clams, oysters, shrimp, and then it had like a blackened salmon on a bed. Basically, all of that in like a white cream, like a white wine cream sauce. And then blackened salmon on top of it was just, smooth, like
Sounds
$70 just for the entree, dude. Nuts.
Oof. Yeah, like fine dining. So obviously it's different, right? I'm talking about food that was, fucking killed 2 blocks away and prepared for us on the way there. But like fine dining was kind of the same, with Andre. We were in. This wasn't like when I was doing any training. It was just we went on vacation, myself and the wife and the kids. We went to Tokyo, and we went kind of same thing. It wasn't in Tokyo Tower, but it was a building close to the Tokyo Tower. Went all the way up to the top floor, and they had a couple different restaurants up there, and super packed, right? And same thing. We went into one, waited, and it was a Korean barbecue. And if you guys have had Korean barbecue, right, you sit around, you cook the food in front of you. But because there was 6 of us, because my mom was living with me at the time, we went, and they gave us our own like little private room. I actually have photos, and there was like a little balcony that you could sit on. It was all glass, but the like seat was glass, so you could sit like over the edge of the building. It was we were probably like on the 54th or 55th floor. That's how tall it was, and you could sit on the glass seat, we'll call it, and like look out over the building. Oh, it was amazing. You were up high enough where you were like in the clouds, because they were, the clouds were kind of low, but not that I was up that high. But the food there was like same thing. They pull the chair out, they sit you down. It was a whole like 12-course meal, and it was. When it wasn't $30, because if you've ever been to Japan, it's still pretty expensive. So I think we paid a couple $100s for that meal, but definitely was delicious. I think the reason it was so expensive is because we had Wagyu beef.
Oh, yeah.
You know what that is? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I loved it. My wife likes the chewiest. Like, you might as well give her bubble gum that's brown, because she just likes to chew the hell out of her meat, right? And I like to, like, just let it melt in your mouth. Like, you've heard that term before with meat, where it melts in your mouth. Like Wagyu. If you've never had Wagyu, Like, that's what it is. That level of put it in your mouth, let it melt. Oh, it's so good.
Wagyu it's expensive, but it also
Stupid
like
expensive.
but it also gets to the point when you're eating, you're like, it's almost too much. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
because I think just like the oil and the fat is just super rich, and you're just like
Super rich, yeah.
yeah.
If I would have gotten like a steak of Wagyu, you know what I mean, like a normal, let's say 8-ounce sirloin, I wouldn't have been able to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
But they, you know, with the Korean barbecues, they come in those really thin slices that are, you know, that big or whatever. And I only had a few of those because they only serve you like 6 or 7 of them. And my wife didn't like them, so I had probably 4 of them, and like that was enough. Like I couldn't continue eating it because your palate gets so overwhelmed with like those rich flavors.
Yeah.
I love Korean barbecue.
So
I
good.
kind of zoned out because I was thinking about Korean barbecue last time I had it. It's so good.
So good.
Oh, speaking of that, I'm gonna eat some this week. I got to go down to Tampa. I leave tomorrow. I got to go to a conference for work, and I'm sure they got some delicious Korean barbecue down there in Tampa somewhere.
Conference
sure.
for work.
Yeah.
Are you not doing the window stuff anymore?
No. Last week, well, 2 weeks ago was my last week. And then last week, I started my first full week. I started on Tuesday the 1st, so I started my new job as the sales manager for this new company, this startup here in Bluffton, doing sales of commercial lawn care equipment, but all battery operated, so sustainable, you know, eco-friendly, all that.
That sounds awful. Sorry for your loss. It's better than It's better than window tinting. But
No, well, I really
awesome.
enjoyed
That's
window
good.
tinting, but yeah, this just happened to be a good opportunity that came up. I thought I had told you.
no.
Yeah, you told me. You
Wait.
told me about it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I that's just like we'll sidetrack here for saying it super quick. It came up while we were tinting windows at his house. He had just bought this house. We were tinting windows there, and he had like just in comment, he's like, "Oh, you know, I'm looking for someone to do sales for my new startup." And I just haphazardly, jokingly said like, "Oh, if you need a sales guy, I've done sales before." And so, we continued working, whatever. And he pulled me aside. When I was, I went outside to do something, grab something from the van, and he had grabbed me real quick. He's like, "Hey, so are you serious?" But like started asking me like deep questions, like, "Do you like this job? Is this what you want to do the rest of your life?" And I was like, "Whoa, like no, like I'm just doing this on the side, whatever." And he's like, "Well, I got this opportunity." And long story short, dude just made a couple $100 million selling a company that he did the same thing, startup, built it over 5 years, and then sold the company, made a couple $100 million. And his son, who's 24, just left where he was living to move back here. And his dad's like, "Oh, we're going to do this startup. There's 70, 80 lawn care companies just here in the Bluffton area because lawn care is huge out here. But they all use gas-powered everything. There's no, like, battery-operated or even a company that offers, battery-operated solutions. Not just sales, but sales and service. Because you can go to Home Depot and get, like, a battery-operated mower. But we sell the bigger commercial ones, and we're going to be providing the service afterwards. So it breaks down, we'll come out, swap out, fix whatever needs to be fixed. And so the conference I'm going to is the yearly conference that the distributor, or Greenworks is the name of the company. It's their yearly conference that they do with their new product line. So we get to go out there, drive all the stuff, try all the products, talk with the engineers, and staying at the Hard Rock. So I'm going to do some gambling, drink some beer.
As you should at a work conference.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Just multi-million-dollar man walking up to you. "Hey, man,
That's what surprised me the most,
you want
man.
something to change your life?"
Especially
sounds
me
like
being
the start of
brown,
a-
you know what I mean?
Sounds
I thought
like
he was going to
the
ask me to do his
porno.
lawn.
I'm going to look up conferences in Tampa, and it's going to be an adult video.
I'll be sure to send you a
ex-con.
link.
Please don't.
I gotta fix this cord real quick. sure you don't want to see my bare ass on video?
We
can look at
actually were kind of hoping to.
Only thing that goes up video-wise is clips. So the rest of the podcast is audio only.
Perfect.
So if you showed us your ass, we would just have to explain it in great detail.
If we just do a side-by-side comparison, I'll draw a picture, and then we have Andre's face. It's almost the same thing.
Just don't forget about the mushroom-shaped bruise on one of the cheeks. Don't know what that's from. But.
Where's that from?
I don't know how that got there.
So you're going for the whole week?
No, it's just I leave tomorrow and I come back on Wednesday. The conference is all day Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just a one-day thing.
I was going to say, birthday's 4 days away.
What?
Yes, it is. I come back. I come back Wednesday, and then Thursday, we actually where I golf here
the
in
Marine.
November. Yeah, the Marine Corps birthday.
I was like, I know when both of your birthdays are. It's neither of your birthdays.
Yeah, no, the Marine Corps birthday, man.
Yeah.
We have a little gathering that we do every year. Well, I say every year. Last year was my first year here at the club I'm a part of. There's probably 10, 12 retired Marines that are all there. And then one of them, I don't think I told Tyson this because we never really talk Marines, but John, I met him last year. He's a 96-year-old World War II vet.
Jesus. That
I met last year, and people always make the joke like Marines are, like make jokes and are I don't want to say gay. I don't know what the word is for it. We can be a little grotesque, right, at times.
Yeah.
And 96-year-old fucking John was in there talking about smacking his wife's ass, and this dude can barely walk. He's like, hunched over, like looking at the ground. But the moment like we start talking Marine shit, he like fucking sits up and starts cracking these jokes, and I'm like, oh, he's a pretty cool dude. It just made me laugh, man. And the stories he was telling us, about World War II, the detail he was able to explain it in, because he looks so frail, like. I mean, he's 96, right? So, frail little 96-year-old guy has to have, help walking him in, sitting him down in the chair. And then the moment he started talking about, like, the experiences he had in the Marine Corps, you could tell it kind of, he kind of lit up. That's the best way to put it. Like, we talk about it all the time.
Lit a spark.
Yeah, like, lit a spark, man. It literally does when you're around, people, your brothers, and people that get it, and you can talk, like, through that lingo that they're going to understand, and you just kind of, it was so cool. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, man. It was so cool listening to him, and like the gift they got him, because he was our guest of honor, right? So at the ball, you always have a guest of honor, and the gift they got him was a blown up picture of a ship from World War II, and it was like you see in the movies where all the Marines and sailors line the edge of the ship, right? And it looks like it's pulling into port. But Andre, you'll get a kick out of this, and you too, Tyson. But it was that ship. He was on that ship. The people that got it for him, right, didn't know that was the ship he was on. They just found a photo. He's seen the side of the ship. He's like, "Oh, that's so cool! You got the ship, a photo of the ship I was on." And they were like, "You were on that ship." He started telling us his story. He was outside of Okinawa, and this is middle of World War II, and they had kamikaze planes coming in, right? And torpedoes were getting launched at them from subs. And one of the kamikaze planes hit their ship. And they started taking on water. And if you know anything about military, right, military movies, you've seen them. The moment a ship starts taking on water, you start sealing all of the decks below, right, to stop the flow of water. So the picture that they had found of that ship with everybody lining the edges, he said that was everybody standing up there getting ready to abandon ship. Like, not coming into port, not celebrating. It was all... And then once you look at the picture a little closer, you realize they're not in, like, dress uniform. When you're pulling up to port, you're in dress uniform, you're looking fancy. Like, these dudes were, like, in their day-to-day camos, their uniform, and they were getting ready to abandon ship. And he's like, hundreds of people did, but they were able to seal up the ship and tow it all the way back to Pearl Harbor. But he was telling us that as they're sealing the decks below, like there's people in there, right? And they have to seal them because water's flushing in. And he said for probably about 3 days, you would hear people banging on the walls, on the door as it's filling up, screaming out for their moms. And it was just like, listening to him tell that story was insane because he was there and the detail he was describing it in, and we all at first were like, oh, that's so cool, look at the ship that he was on, and then it completely flipped the story to like, oh my god, that is crazy. But it was so cool to hear from somebody, you know, World War II guy, especially being a military guy myself, like never thought I would have the opportunity to hear stories like that from somebody who had experienced it.
Yeah, it's a good like it's a good story about the misrepresentation of war, where if someone that was on that ship wasn't there to tell that story, you may never know that picture is a somber reminder of what
would
war
never have known. Absolutely.
What war really is. Like we obviously celebrate our troops and celebrate you guys for everything you've done, but as someone who's not in the military, it's hard to, from an outsider's perspective, it's hard to understand the toll that it has, and to hear stories like that is humbling and good to hear.
Well, even from the inside, like you, like myself, even right. Like obviously, I've had buddies and stuff that have gone to war, and even me hearing that story, I was just as shocked as probably someone like yourself to hear that. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, and like just like being on a ship and having that experience being on a ship, like how everything is. Like if you yell down a P-way, it's echoing for the whole ship, and how heavy the hatches are. Just that's crazy, dude. Like that's a
being
crazy
towed back 3 weeks. It took them 3 weeks to get towed back to Pearl Harbor, like, and just knowing. And he even said that too. He's like, just knowing my buddies were down there. Like, you want to help them, but it's them or me, right? I opened the door, and now we're putting everybody else's lives at risk.
Everyone else on the next level.
Yep.
Or the whole ship.
The whole ship, yeah. It's not just the next level; it's the whole ship. So, not to make it somber, but I just thought, like, you mentioned the Marine Corps birthday coming up, and he had told us that story, and it's a time of celebration for sure.
Yeah,
and celebrate all of our history, but you also have to, remember those that have come before us, and if you've never seen like a military ball or anything like that, right, Tyson?
No.
So there's always one table, and that's actually part of the whole ceremony. Is there's a table there with the setting that's turned upside down, the glass is turned upside down, there's an empty plate, there's a one place setting all by itself, a single table that is there for those that have come before us, and it is specifically talked about in the ceremony that there's always a place setting for those that have come before us, so that they can celebrate with us. I'm getting goosebumps, man. Just saying it.
No.
It's like,
because I think I don't think like people understand, because like when I tell my friends and stuff all the time, I'm like, oh, my birthday's coming up. They're like, what the fuck you talking about, dog? Your birthday just passed. I'm like, no, like Marine Corps birthday, and they're like,
Marine Corps birthday.
I'm like, bro, it's a big thing. I love celebrating the Marine Corps birthday. I don't think there's a lot of Marines around here, so I was just gonna go to Walmart and get myself a little cake, and
I'll do something for you, brother.
Have some drinks.
Yeah, just get together, have some drinks,
Yeah.
You gotta have a little piece of cake. You can always pull up the birthday message. That's something Tyson probably would obviously he's never seen. You can pull up the birthday message, and I'm sure you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah. The Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps now, he was the Sergeant Major of my MU when I deployed.
Was he really?
Black. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. So, and even before that, though, like I would watch, the birthday message from the Commandant and Sergeant Major Marine Corps. But yeah, I want to talk about like just our history, like Tun Tavern, 1775, because a lot of people don't really understand. So we're celebrating our heritage and like where we came from, because the Marine Corps literally started in a bar. Some dudes, some random fucking dudes just in a bar Ton Tavern, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
There's a placard where the bar used to be in Philadelphia that says Ton Tavern, birthplace of the United
First
States
place in the
Marine
Marine
Corps.
Corps. Yep.
So that's where our legacy started, in a bar. So
Fun fact for Tyson, you probably don't know this, right? So you have the branches of the military, which are what?
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Space Force now.
Coast Guard, yeah.
Coast Guard,
And
right?
Coast Guard, yeah.
But so a lot of people don't know that the Marine Corps is not its own branch,
It's part of the Army.
right? No, it's part of the Navy.
Part of the Navy.
We're a department.
Oh, Navy.
Yeah, Department of the Navy, right? It's the men's department. That's what we like to say. The women's
Yeah.
department is the Navy. The men's department is the Marine Corps. But the Marine Corps is the only branch that was wanted, not needed, wanted, right? So when we came about and it was created all that time ago, right, hundreds of years ago, the only reason we're still around is because America wants a Marine Corps, not because they need a Marine Corps, right? Air Force dominates the air. Navy is for the sea, right? Army, occupying force, they're for the land. So we have land, air, and sea, and now space with Space Force, right? So those areas are covered. So what does the Marines do, right? The Marine Corps doesn't have a specific set that we're in control of, right? When you just look at it in the grander scheme of things. And we're around because we're wanted, not because we're needed, per se, right? To cover a specific category. It's because people want us.
Because you put the fear of God in the enemy.
It's funny you say
yeah,
that,
we
but
do.
it's the absolute truth,
Yeah,
man.
no,
It
I'm not saying that as a joke. I meant that.
That's
And
literally
I feel
what we do.
stupid. I feel stupid that I said the Army because Marine is literally an aquatic word.
That is very true.
I should have known.
I was going to
We-
say,
We control the latrelles. You know what the latrelles are?
That sounds like the sewers. Isn't the latrelle a toilet?
no, you're thinking latrine.
Oh,
You're thinking latrine, yeah. It's close. Yeah, we got some.
listen,
we
my
deal with
mind's
some
always
dirty stuff.
in the sewer. All right.
Latrelles is the area between the ocean and land, right? The beach, we'll call it, right? Ships can't come all the way up to the land. Army doesn't go out into the water, so we control the latrelles. That's where we come along.
Yeah, I forgot. It's the Navy SEALs that are in the sewers.
We're amphibious by trade.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what
Most
we do.
of
We
us.
do.
Some
we
swim
do-
like rocks.
Yeah. Iron ducks.
Iron ducks. The iron ducks, baby.
Squeezing through the cracks.
You just got to float long enough to
Yeah.
survive. That's it.
That's it. But yeah, so that's how we started, 1775 in Ton Tavern. And then, a lot of wars we've gone through, a lot of battles. Battle of Belleau Wood, Frozen Chosen. That's probably one of the crazier battles that Marines have been in.
The most austere environment, for sure.
Yeah,
I would
oh,
say
yeah.
the most austere. And not, I don't know if you ever listened or watched any documentaries about the Frozen Chosen, Tyson? No?
Nope.
I would... So Vietnam was a big one, too, right?
Oh, yeah,
but
Vietnam.
I would say, for me, personally, right, learning about the Frozen Chosen and in Korea and the Korean War and all that, the Marines were there and we did some amazing things, right? Not to take away from the other branches because they went through some shit as well, right? But the big thing that a lot of people say, and you may have heard it before, this may ring a bell, but the Army was retreating, and as they're retreating, the Marines came upon them, right? And so the Marines asked them, like, "What are you guys doing?" And they'd mentioned, "Oh, we've got to retreat. The conditions were shit." And there's a line, right? It says something like, what is it? Something like hell with retreating, or hell retreat.
Retreat hell. We just
Retreat
got
hell.
here.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Retreat hell. We just got here, and the Marines just kept pushing forward. But that makes it sound really badass, which it was. But I would highly recommend. I don't know if you, Andre, if you ever watched any documentaries, and like the documentaries that are like of interviews of real people that were there, right? Guys that went through it. I watched one, and I was just going to kind of peruse through it, skip around, kind of get to the meatier parts. And I watched every second of the documentary. I think it was called The Frozen Chosen, because it was just so captivating to listen to these guys. And they had some videos and photos of the actual place. But yeah, that's Marines, man. We big battles. We go in, we blow shit up, we fuck shit up, and then we move on and let the Army come in and occupy.
Yeah. Look at Fallujah. The Army was there.
Yep.
Gonna take Fallujah. Marines get there. We take Fallujah in 3 days.
Yep.
And it's probably one of the
what we do.
more recent, memorable battles that we've fought. More recent Marine Corps history. What else? Fallujah, Sangin. I don't know, man. We're
all those battles, anything
Yeah.
in Iraq. The big ones were Sangin, Fallujah, Baghdad,
Way City. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some crazy, and I love watching like YouTube, like 30-40 minute YouTube videos on like just guys' stories about crazy shit that they've gone through, or like heroic things, like not just Marines but anybody, like dudes, you know. It's so weird to me to think about how the Marine Corps bands people together. Like any military branch, really, you all just kind of band together, because you go through like the shittiest things together, dude. And think of like Kyle Carpenter, right? Kyle Carpenter is a living Medal of Honor recipient. He jumped on a grenade for a guy that, you know, they grew up different places, different, you know, styles of living, whatever, and jumped on a grenade for this dude. Like, my civilian friends wouldn't fucking jump on a grenade for me, but I know one of my friends from the Marine Corps would.
It's just a different bond.
It is.
I mean, well, the difference is I think it's pretty obvious, right? And so, Tyson, you obviously had your childhood friends growing up, and you know, once you had that one guy, or you know, maybe kind of a sketchy situation that you guys may have been in, right? Sometimes that's the divisive part of a relationship that you have, right? Or, you know, friendships sometimes kind of go in their separate ways when you see one dude kind of, you know, maybe making a mistake, or you know, getting yourselves in some rough spots. And it's not a good comparison with the Marine Corps, right? Because the Marine Corps puts you in those positions, and you go through crappy training to, you know, build those relationships. But in the civilian world, right, you have that option to be like, nah, man, this is a shit situation, and I don't really want to be in this. Like,
Yeah.
nah, I'd rather not, right? But with the Marine Corps, that's why those bonds get so tight. And that's just really the best way to explain it is, you know, you go through a crap situation, and I'm sure there's a lot of people, right, those that are listening to the podcast that, you know, probably have similar experiences where they had the childhood friend, they went through a crappy situation together, and that made their bond stronger, right? So, you know, boot camp is take that and just do that every day, right?
Yeah.
Going through a crappy situation every day, living through some shit every day. Just horrible, getting yelled at, crappy, and it just forms a bond, right? I don't know if I've ever told you this, Tyson, but like the day 2 of boot camp, there was another little Mexican kid there, like myself, right? And I just didn't like him. Don't ask me why, right? I was a young 18-year-old fucking cock stud, right?
You were the little Mexican.
I was the little Mexican. I didn't like him,
he
dude. I don't know
came,
why. I don't know why. We just didn't like each other, right? And then it just so happened that motherfucker was in my platoon, and he slept right fucking next to me. And for the first week, I fucking hated him, right? And then we went through some shit, and he was like my best friend. I wanted to punch him for the first week. Just didn't like him. And then after that, it was like, fuck, we went through some shit together, you know? You've probably seen my asshole. Have you seen your asshole? Fuck it, we're best friends now.
Nut to butt, dog, even in the shower. Get used to having a dick for real. Let's talk about some boot camp stories. You got some funny boot camp stories?
Oh, man, I got to tell you, this motherfucker, dude. Oh. So, at night, you count off, right? Everybody stands there in little tidy whities, and you do this little inspection where you flip your hands over and make sure you're clean, and they count off, right? So you start and you count all the way around, make sure everybody's there, no one's missing. Before they turn the lights off, you go to bed. And the dude that stood across from me, his last name started with a B. Like it's taken me years to forget him. But he was number 13 in line, right? This motherfucker could not say 13 to save his life. When he was put under pressure, he turned into a stuttering mess of shit. So every night, bro, it would take us like 30 fucking minutes to go to bed because they would go around 1, 2, 3, and they would get to him. He'd be like 13, sir. He'd be like, good, start over. Fuck, bro. It got to the point where like 2 months in, right? We would wake up in the middle of the night, like 5 of us would wake up in the middle of the night. He slept on the bottom rack, and we would flip his fucking mattress, and we would fucking beat on him in the middle of the night because we fucking could not stand that this motherfucker could not say 13, right? And then he'd be getting his ass beat, and he'd be like, 13, 13, 13, right? He's saying it just fine. And we're like, see, you can say it, motherfucker. Obviously quiet, right? We're like trying to fucking Batman stealth this fucking dude. But every fucking day. And the worst part is when we went to the field, right? Andre, you went to West Coast or East Coast?
Yeah, West Coast.
West Coast. So, you know, when they send you up to Pendleton, right? And you got fucking, you're up in the field, you're fucking freezing your ass off, right? And you're fucking standing in your tidy whities just wanting to get in your sleeping bag. Yeah. And I'm talking freezing, bro. And then you got to hear fucking 13, 13. Motherfucker, dude. Just fucking say it.
Like, bro, we've been doing this every night for 2 months now.
You gotta get it by now.
Something has to fucking click at this point, dude.
Change, dude. Oh, it was bad. It was fucking bad. Man.
Oh, that's fucking funny, dude.
Are you saying people with stutter can't join the Marine Corps, dude?
He didn't have a stutter, dude. He fucking developed a stutter. And no, you can't, because then people like me and Andre got to suffer for your fucking stupidness.
I don't know. It sounds pretty appealing that I can join the Marine Corps and beat people up for having a stutter.
That wasn't known, right? That's the first time I've ever heard of this.
That's funny, dude.
That was like
Andre. Had this little Vietnamese kid. It's literally like 4'9", 4'10". He couldn't hump. Could not.
Not like putting his penis in other people.
Oh,
Humping
yeah.
is like hiking.
Yeah, like
Let's
hiking.
Clarify that real quick on there before they think it's just a mass orgy at boot camp. You're sticking freaking penises and butts, you know, nut to butt. They're going to start making correlations that are not there.
Are you saying short people can't hump, dude?
Well, he had little legs, dude, so... We're not...
Are you saying people with little legs can't hump, dude?
He dangled him over the chair when he sat down.
Actually, you know what? I got a funnier story.
Oh, no, yeah.
Man, this one's funny. This one's funny, dude. So, my rack mate, Kenyon, white country kid, right? Kind of stocky, pretty built kid. We're all online in front of our Foot Lockers waiting for I think Senior Drill Instructor was on duty that night. We were waiting for him to come out of the duty hut to do the count off or whatever. This motherfucker had a pen and he put little eyes on the tip of his dick, bro. and so me and like everybody else that were around, he's opening and closing his fucking dick hole, singing Ring of Fire. Singing Ring of Fire, dude. And I pissed my pants so much, dude. I could not.
That's a good way to get yourself kicked out of boot camp. That's a mental health issue.
Dude, it was the funniest shit.
Like, make eye contact with the serpent, brother.
Oh, man. It was fucking hilarious, dude. One of the funniest things.
Oh, whatever you gotta do to get a laugh.
And, like, you just remember stupid shit like that, man. We had our CO inspection. You know, like when you first get to boot camp, like the CO comes in and they do like your scars and tattoo checks with like your paperwork and shit.
Yep.
this one kid from Montana. I don't remember his name. I knew he was tall as fuck though, and he's going through. The CO's going through. He's looking at his paperwork, and he goes, "You have a tattoo of Made in Montana on your ass?" And he goes, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Come out here." He takes him into the drill instructor highway and fucking pulls his pants down. And sure shit, he has a fucking tattoo on his ass that says "Made in Montana" with like the state of Montana. I'm like, bro, where the fuck do people come up with this shit? Like, oh man, crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you see some crazy stuff. The thing about it is, like, when you look back, right, and you think about the stuff that you went through or seen or heard or just boot camp in general, like, it's funny, right? Like, it's super funny. Sometimes, honestly, Tyson, like, when we get those questions from people, right, like civilians that don't know anything about the military, sometimes it's hard for me to, like, put some of these stories into words to where you're going to understand why it's funny. Right? If I'm talking to another Marine, they're going to laugh because they get it, right? But when you're talking to, like, you know, a civilian, sometimes, like, our funny shit is like, y'all are fucking weird. You got something wrong with you. You're already kind of messed up in the head, so you get it.
So I was going to say, I think that says something about me because I have a dark sense of humor, so I think it's usually pretty funny.
Yeah, you fit right in, don't worry.
That's why I got Marine friends.
Yeah, you understand. You get it. It's just the training, and when you put people in a stressful environment, it's funny to watch how they react. Like, people that you were like, oh, this dude's super cool, he's good, he's straight, and then you put him in a stressful environment, and it's like, what the fuck was this person just thinking? Like, as a recruiter, right? So I was a recruiter. Andre, I think I told you I was a recruiter. But I did officer recruiting as well for 2 years. So I worked with college students. There's a selection process. It's much different than your average high school kid that just joins and goes, right? You got to get selected, and you're competing, and it's much more difficult. But once the guys were selected, we have to prepare them for OCS? Which is boot camp, but for officers, right? Way more stringent, way more selective. They're tested on their leadership skills and not just instant obedience to order, right? Which is us enlisted guys. They just get us there, instant obedience to order. Can you follow a command? Do you not question? But for officers, right, because they're the ones leading us, they have to show leadership traits and show that they can lead in stressful situations. So I remember we had this kid, AJ. His last name Malashevsky, right? I still remember 5'7", small white guy. And I have him in the office, and we have them, they go out, like, these dudes are dedicated, right, because this is their career, so they would go out and buy, like, military fatigues or, like, camis at the thrift shop down the road, right, the military fucking thrift shop, and he came in, he had his camis and his blouse and everything, so I'm in there, and I'm treating them like they wouldn't boot camp, you know. To put your left boot on right now. You got 30, 29, 28, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 20, 8, 7, 12, 11, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're done, right? Counting them down. And so he's, you know, I'm making him put on his boot, take it off, put it on, take it off until he gets it right. And he's never going to get it right, by the way, but just fucking with him, right? And at one point, I'm telling him to get his trousers on, and this motherfucker puts his trousers on, and they're fucking inside out and backwards. And he's like, I'm done, sir. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at him sideways. I said, but are you done? Yes, sir. And I was like, and I'm like fucking looking at me. He was like dead set. Like, he swore to Christ that his fucking trousers were on correctly. Right? And then the person to his left and the person to his right were both like trying not to laugh their asses off, right? I can see him smart. I had to turn around and like cover my face because I was fucking about to die laughing. And so I'm like, fucking looking down, AJ. Yes, sir. So what the fuck is wrong with your pants? Or your fucking camis is what I told him. So what the fuck is wrong with your trousers? So my dick isn't big enough, sir. I was like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're not, like, you didn't happen to notice that they were inside out, they were backwards, your fucking back pockets are in the front? What the fuck went through your brain At what point did I even talk about your dick, man? That's not what we're here for. And it's just like shit like that, man. It just blows your mind. Like you put them in a stressful situation and they just like break down. But that's what makes it funny as well.
Yeah, I'm solemnly convinced that drill instructors like genuinely start to hate recruits. Like after their first couple cycles, I think they just genuinely start to hate these people.
I could see that.
No, they do, 100%. But all my buddies, right? A bunch of buddies of mine that I still have in contact with today. Good friend of mine, Sergeant Major, right down here. I live right down the road from Paris Island, right? And he's the RTR Sergeant Major, like Troop Training Regiment Sergeant Major. Mm-hmm. And he has to have talk with the Marines all the time, the drill instructors, because you got to think, right? So these dudes are getting 3-4 hours of sleep at night. They're not seeing their families. And at first, it's exciting, right? Just like any new job, right? You get a new job, and it's like, oh, this is cool, I want to do well. But it comes to a point where you have a lack of sleep. You're the new guy, so you get all the shit duties. You're getting fucked with. You got to do all the shit that you don't want to do because it's crappy. And then on top of that, you have to repeat to these guys over and over, right? And Tyson, you're going to experience this soon, man, because you're a young father. Your daughter's going to start growing up, and you're going to tell her some shit, and she's going to be like, huh? And then she's going to get it, right? She'll be like, oh, I understand. And then 5 minutes later, she's going to go back and do that same shit that you just told her not to do, and then she's going to look at you and be like, huh? What do you mean? Think of that, right? But with 18, 19, 20, 21, 24-year-old guys, fucking men, and the longer they take to do shit, the harder your job is. So it gets to the point where you hate these guys because you're like, how do you not fucking get it? It's easy, right?
Yeah.
From the outside in, of course, it's always going to be easy, but you're not in that stressful situation. So it literally comes to the point, and I've had buddies of mine that I've talked to that were drill instructors, and they're like, yeah, like one of the hardest things about being a drill instructor is separating that hate, right? Understanding that you're going to come to a point where you hate these guys. And a lot of marriages in the Marine Corps don't last through drill instructor. Like drill instructor do that 3 years because they take that hate, that angst, that anger, they take that home, and then it comes out on their families, right? Or God forbid they take it out on the recruits, and then they hurt a recruit, punch, kick, maim, whatever, because then that ruins their career. Because now you're looking at more serious offenses, and so it's very hard, very stressful, because you come to a point where you hate those young men and women because they're like standing between you and going home and seeing your family.
Yeah, and I think another big thing of it is you get broken down. I don't think you realize it in the process, but like looking back on it, you're like, you get broken down to a level where you're just like, you're told what to do, when to do, how to do it. You're so micromanaged that you get used to that, right?
Yep.
So you're
absolutely
you piss at this time, you shave at this time, and you have 3 minutes to do it. After that, we're going to chow. You have fucking 20 minutes to eat, right? After that, we go conduct training for the day, whatever the training is, fucking classroom instruction, whatever.
Drill, rifle manual, all of it.
Yeah. So you get that implemented like every day for 3 months, and then you're having like someone tell you when, where, what to do, how to do things. Like I can see on their end how that gets frustrating, but I think they have to kind of step back and be like, well, we are breaking these guys down to the point where they're like, you're fucking stupid. You are. You feel dumb the whole time. You don't really need to use your brain at boot camp because you're told
zero thought.
Yeah, like like all the tests you take, you cheat basically. Like they tell you, hey, they give you like what we call ditties. So like, hey, remember this ditty. This is gonna be the answers for the next test. Like,
yep,
tell you that's how. Like, it's
literally
it's foolproof. Yeah, it's foolproof.
And if you do fail, it's because you're real dumb.
You're really stupid.
No, it's pretty interesting, Tyson. I think that the from the outside looking in, right? you watch the videos and you see like these drill instructors screaming and yelling, and they look like hard asses. And don't get me wrong, they are, right? Like, it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that for 3 years and come out and, you know, and not have that affect you in some type of way. But like drill instructors, I take my hats off to those guys, man, because they are literally reshaping all these young men and women that show up, right? Both males and female drill instructors that are there. They have to take somebody like, you know, us three right here, right? Andre, yourself, and me. We show up, and you've got a certain background, a certain way you grew up. I got a certain background. And they got to break all that shit down and build us all up to work together. And that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
That is hard.
It sounds like an awful, awful job.
Yeah.
Like that's a job where you can't just take an easy day. Like, you can't just go in and phone it in. You have to be 100%. It's almost like an act where, you know, their personalities outside of the job are not like that, but they have to be that big tough guy and just, yeah, like you said, breaking people down. That would not be an easy job.
I like what you said there. Like, their personalities outside the job, right? It's crazy because that's where you notice the biggest, like, I wouldn't say change, but difference between guys that are able to turn it on and turn it off and guys that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, the personality is, I'm a big tough guy when I get to work. And I'm here and I'm screaming and I'm yelling and you're doing what I tell you because I'm your daddy. For the next 12 hours, I'm your daddy, right? And then you get home, you have to be able to shut that off, right? Because you're married and I'm married. And I know that if I came home with some shit like that, my wife would either kill me in my sleep or she would fucking leave me, right? And that's, I mean, that's crazy that I've never, like, I think that's the first time I've ever heard somebody like say it, or maybe just like now that I've been out for a little while, I just kind of put it in perspective where I'm like, holy, like, you have to have a different personality when you go in than when you're at home.
Mm-hmm. So my perspective of that is coming from the opposite end of, I mean, I guess you're not breaking people down, but I did, you know, social work for a little bit with at-risk teenagers. And so I, you know, went to broken homes and saw just the worst of the worst. And so it's kind of the same thing of you're trying to reshape not only the kids, more the parents than the kids. The kids, it always comes from the parents, how the kids are acting. And so it's that battle of just trying to break through and change the behaviors or whatever. And that the reason I stopped doing it is because I couldn't separate it. It was all I could think about. It was what I took it home with me, and it wasn't an aggressive thing that I took home with me. It was depression. It was sad, and so I guess I kind of related it to that in a way where you're just trying to do this very hard task, and you know I had to be super compassionate. And with those parents, when you see, you know, these parents are selling meth outside and they're forgetting their kids at school, they're not taking their kids to school, they're leaving them at home. They go on 3-day benders and they leave their 15-year-old, 14-year-old kid to take care of their baby sister. And so you just want to smack the shit out of these parents and you can't do anything. So I had to, it was like a different type of restraint of, I had to be compassionate and like, yes, I understand that you have these impulses or whatever, these things you have to, you know, but you have this responsibility as a parent. And it's like the opposite where they have to take on this role of aggressive, you know, big bad guy, breaking them down into turning regular civilians into soldiers is not an easy thing. And so to separate to take that mask off of your job versus your real life is.
Yeah, you get it, man. Like because you've been in that role where it's so hard to separate the two, right? Because that's your job. You're doing it for so many hours a day. That's really hard to just turn it off and come home and separate. Because then you want to come. Let's say you try and separate it, and you come home, and your wife's like, "Hey, how was work?" And it just comes right back, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's tough.
But at the end of the day, you know, after your cycle, you're probably one of the more rewarding things, or even as a recruiter too, because you're sending this kid, you know, off to boot camp, and then he comes back a totally different person. You know, like I had a huge relationship with my recruiters because Just from my family situation, like growing up and stuff, like I always knew like I wanted to go into the military. I didn't know what branch, but like being a freshman in high school, I'd always like, whenever I see the recruiters, I'd talk to them, get to know them, things like that. And then I remember like when I got home from boot camp, one of my recruiters, he was like, dude, he's like, I'm so proud of you. And like, cause he knew me ever since I was a freshman. So like watching and see me grow and then like become a Marine was like, it was a huge thing for me, big thing for him. And so it's probably really rewarding that, you know, they take you as you are. 13 weeks later, you're this completely different person. Not 100%, but you know, you're molded into what they wanted you to be. So, that's probably rewarding for a lot of those guys and women, because they're like, never met you before. Now they're stuck with you for the next 3 months, and they're watching you walk. They're walking across the parade deck with you, and you're this brand new person and ready to go attack and do good things in the Marine Corps, hopefully. But I know a lot of shitbags, so
there's always negatives. There's good
I mean, there's you're always going to have those few bad apples for sure. But yeah, I mean, as a recruiter, for sure, you know, I could speak from experience, you know, being a recruiter and you know, taking, you know, this young man or woman, and sometimes they came from really good homes, and I had kids who came from really good homes, and they would go off and do good things, and they'd come back, and you know, even their parents, like I would have parents that were like entrusting me to be like their parent, right? Like passing those responsibilities on to me, and it was kind of crazy, right? Like, you're trusting me to make decisions for your child. They look at me and be like, is this what's good for my child to join the Marine Corps, right? And it's crazy because, like, it's a job, right? And we have quotas and all that, right? You know, the ugly truth is that's what it is. We have to have so many people per month, right? And all this stuff. But, you know, I can tell you from my heart, and I'll take it to the grave, that every kid that I put in the Marine Corps was not me trying to, you know, hook and bait them. It was always, this is what the Marine Corps can do for you if you take advantage of the opportunities, right? Just like anything else, right? And I always try to relate it to things that people know, right? College. You can go to college, right? But if you don't apply yourself at college, you're not going to get anything out of it. You can go to college for 4 years and leave and still be just as stupid as when you got there because you didn't apply yourself, right? The Marine Corps has hundreds of opportunities for you to do a lot of really cool stuff, but you have to seek those opportunities out. And so it was always really cool to see when kids left and then they came back young men. Like, that's literally how it was. Like, there was a kid that left. Like, I slapped him on the ass on Sunday, got him on the van, and sent his ass to Milwaukee so that he can get on a plane and go to San Diego. And then 3 months later, the first place they come, like the first place that they show up to is my office. They fly in, they land, they say hi to mom, and they come straight to my office. And they're like, hey, time I was a sergeant, like, hey, Sergeant Rivera, I did it. And they come in and like they're just so proud, right? And me too. It's like a dad. I'm like, oh my god, you fucking did it, man. That's awesome. And then you have those disappointments where those kids that you know, they go, they become a Marine, and you know, they make stupid mistakes, and you know, one of the kids the only kid that I had that got kicked out of the Marine Corps, Doble, Luke fucking Doble. I still remember his name, man. Luke Doble. Little fucking chubby country white boy who joined the Marine Corps and fell in with the wrong crowd and started doing drugs and got kicked out because he was smoking weed and doing drugs, you know. And the first place that he showed up to when he got kicked out of the Marine Corps, because I was still a recruiter, was my office. And came in like super apologetic. I'm so sorry. And I was like, dude, what the fuck, man? Like, don't be sorry to me. Be sorry to yourself. Like, I gave you the opportunity, right? Like, at this point, your life was in your hands. Don't come to me and, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I feel bad for you, and I feel like, in a way, like, maybe I let you down, but at the same time, like, you made that decision. I wasn't with you. You know, you've been on your own for a year and a half. Like, you're a grown man. You made that decision. You got to lay with it. You know, you made your bed. You got to lay in it. So, yeah, it was definitely, and it was always really cool when I seen like my recruits, or my young Marines that I put in the Marine Corps, and I knew them as a freshman, and now I see them in the Marine Corps. Like they'll see me one day and like, oh hey, what's going on, Staff Sergeant Rivera? And I'm looking at them like, who the fuck are you? And I have to like think to myself like, oh shit, that's you! Holy crap! Same thing with the college kids that are officers, right? Like, and that was like the weirdest thing, right? So imagine you, Tyson, like you are a recruiter for a company and you find the CEO, right? Like you're entrusted to find the CEO. And then you're walking around in the company and the CEO comes up to you and he's like grateful for you. Like, hey man, what's going on? And that's just an awkward feeling because you're like my boss. And now you're coming to me like, oh my God, thank you. And it was always
that speaks to the brotherhood though.
Absolutely.
It's not a corporate ladder. It's a brotherhood. It's a family. So,
yep.
You do have bosses and everything. Everyone does, like you said, there is the micromanaging, but it's not the company. I mean, they call it a company. There are companies in it, but it's not a corporate thing. So
yeah, absolutely. So it makes us different.
It's goddamn beautiful.
It's goddamn beautiful.
I think one of the craziest things was that one of my recruiters ended up being my regimental career planner. Like right as I was getting out, he's just. Yeah. So I had to go to him when I was checking out. And it was funny because I think I've told Tyson this story. But it was funny because one of my boys that I worked in the armory. And one of my boys that I worked with, he was trying to put his MSG package in. And there was a bunch of shit that he needed to get done. And like my battery was just like fucking him over, never giving him time to go to, get paperwork filled out or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So he would go to the regimental career planner, and he would always come back to the armory and be like, yeah, Gunny Gibbs this, Gunny Gibbs that. Well, I knew him as Staff Sergeant Gibbs at the time when he was a Staff Sergeant recruiting.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I knew he was a gun bunny. He was 0811. I knew that about him. So I was like, damn, what are the chances? And I was like, I'm checking out. I have to go get his signature anyway. So let's go down there, Stockco. He's like, all right, dog. So we fucking go down there. Knock on his door. He opens it. Sure as shit, it's him.
It's
Gunny Gibbs, yeah. And he goes, motherfucking Kennard. And I was like, what's up, man? He was like, what's up, big dog? And then he calls my other recruiter, who was the staff NCOIC at the MEPS, where we had lived. And we had just all had talked and caught up and stuff. And he was like, small Marine Corps, huh? And I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah,
small Marine Corps.
It is very small. But it's cool, after 4 years, right? You join, 4 years later, you're getting ready to get out of the Marine Corps. Now you're running into the dude that put you in the Marine Corps. And you're probably a little scared. Like, fuck, he's going to talk me into staying.
Yeah, that's what he was like. That's one thing he said. He was like, funny how this works, huh? He was like, I tried getting you in. I got you in. Now my job's trying to keep you. And I was like, yeah, I'm not staying in, though.
He said, yeah, nah, I'm not doing it.
Straight up funny. Not having a good time, dog, so.
Well, hold up. I got some questions here for Tyson. Tyson, what are the like pressing questions you have? I'm sure you've probably asked Andre a lot, but what is some of the stuff that you've always wondered in the back of your mind, like this military stuff? What's this all about?
A lot of questions. I don't know if we can get into it. We're an hour and a half into this thing.
Oh man,
we can do a second segment.
Yeah, we might have to do a part 2. But we actually covered a lot of burning questions that I would have asked. Honestly, it was a good.
We can talk more MOS specific things next time if you want, or just. Opportunities in not just the Marine Corps, the military and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be something good to cover.
We'll have another episode with Adam on, and we'll have it sponsored by the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
I'll go down to my local recruiting office. I'll get you guys some. I'll get you some stickers and maybe a shirt.
It'll have a completely different tone. It'll just be all like super recruitment happy.
No, not at all.
So go down to your local recruiter's office and talk to them tomorrow.
No, but I do appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was super cool to come here and talk with you guys. And there's not a lot of Marines around here that I speak to There's a few, so, but, playing games with Andre and yourself, and we don't really talk Marines, right? But
No.
Marine Corps birthday coming up, and it's a big celebration for us. And for those listening, before we close this up, when Andre said, birthday's coming up, you should have seen the shit-eating grin that he had on his face when he said that to me. And he was just like, it was like one of those smiles where like you're happy, but you're happy because you're going to do some really fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to do some wild shit. That was a smile that he just had on his face, because that's what we do on our birthday. We do some wild, crazy, fucked up shit, and we have a great time doing it.
Well, I'm gonna make him. I'm gonna make you a cake, Andre.
Hell yeah!
Eat it. So when you go out later, because I won't be able to go out drinking. I got a baby. You'll have something nice to throw up if you drink too much.
Hell yeah!
Hold him to it. You better hold him to making that cake.
I will.
I'll make him a cake. All right, boys.
All right.
Well, I think that was a good little talk. It was nice to have Adam here to talk to you, Andre, about all this, because I never like to be that guy who talks about something he doesn't know about. And so for you guys to just go back and forth and ask, you guys kind of involved me by asking me stuff, ask me whatever, but I think it worked out really well. I didn't want to sound ignorant, and I did, saying that the Marines were part of the Army. So
Hey, we're not going to fault you for
yeah.
We're not
it
going
had
to
to
fault you for
happen
that.
once, but
No, it was good. It was good having you here, and it's, good that you were still able to relate in certain things, right? Like, with your career that you were in with social work. So, as much as you were just, we'll say a fly on the wall listening, but you're still able to relate in certain ways. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like that, people that may come across this podcast and listen to it. They're going to relate to different areas of different things we talked about. And I think that's really cool because, at the end of the day, guys in the military are just like you and everybody else. We have a job that just has, a little more serious implications in what we do. But at the end of the day, it's a job. So...
yeah, that's a beautiful way to end it. And with that beautiful little, what'd you call that, a speech? It's a better word for a speech.
A talk?
A talk. Good talk, boys.
Hey, it was a great talk. I appreciate you guys having me.
That's T&A signing off.
Semper Fidelis.